hang. Lawrence Frank just had his post-season presser. That is the only postseason like exit interview type stuff we're going to get from anyone in the Clippers. There's not going to be exit interviews. There's nothing like that for this Clippers team. We get Lawrence Frank's press conference at the end of the season, like we did today, and then nothing else. So if you want more answers to what happened for the Clippers this year, this is all we're getting. Got the first comment from Forgotten LOL. Cal, this sucks, man. Yeah, it does suck a little bit. It was kind of more of the same. I think I titled this stream More of the Same or something like that. It's just been the same thing over the last 4 years or so. We're going to go through some of the quotes and stuff here. Shout out to all the beat reporters who were there covering this. Shout out to Justin Russo, La Murray, Tomer, Farba, Joey Lynn. All the beat reporters were there tonight, which is great. I guess the big thing to talk about is, I guess, the Paul George stuff. There was Paul George news today that he might explore free agency, which, look, usually this podcast is hosted by myself and 2 other people. I am going to say my thoughts on that. If Paul George would like to entertain free agency, go for it, buddy. Paul George took 15.8 field goal attempts this year in the playoffs. I would not like him on the team anymore. I understand that the Clippers, there's not very good options out there, but giving Paul George the max contract, which the Clippers are not going to do, if that was on the table, that would have been signed by now. Yeah, go. Please leave, I guess. If you want to try free agency, go for it, man. Giving Paul George a max contract is insane. Any team who does it, good luck, I guess, to you. Lawrence Frank talked about this. He said today that the intent is to retain the core while acknowledging that Paul George and James Harden have personal decisions to make. On Paul George, he said, we always want to treat players well, pay fairly. We've had good conversations over the course of the year. I guess I don't want to keep this core together. This core is old and hurt. It's very hurt. I don't know. I mean, I guess I understand the logic of this. Lawrence Frank talked about how, these 3 guys are still very good. They can maintain a high level of play despite their age and despite emerging younger talent, is what he thinks. We've seen it go downhill every season. So this is a frustrating presser to look at, I think, just because I don't know what we're supposed to do with any of this information. None of it was encouraging, I don't think, at all. What's up, Jake Burns? Jake Burns, I was wearing one of the OG Jake Burns shirts at the 35 run Friday, so thank you for having me feel a little fresh for that horrible game. Yes, Jake Burns saying, feels like we got contradicting statements. He wants to go younger, but explains how they have 3 elite players. Yeah. He also mentioned Kai Jones needing to get some run, which I understand that. Kai Jones is young and athletic, and we have old players, but we also have a guy on the team who was an all-rookie. We have an all-rookie team member on the Clippers in Bones Highland who seemingly is cast aside. I know if Adam Osland, one of the other hosts of the show, were here, he would probably be upset about that. So I'm putting on my Adam Osland hat right now. Let's try Bones out, a guy who is shown to be good. Thank you, Jake Burns. It's very fair. The whole press conference was frustrating. I was frustrated. I was really frustrated mostly just by the PG stuff this morning. Yeah, I don't know. I think one of the most frustrating parts of this presser for me was going to be, where's the quote at? Lawrence Frank understands the Clippers have fallen short once again, with one of their best players injured again. But he says that while it has happened 4 straight years of finishing without their best player, Frank says it doesn't mean it's happening again next season. Great. Let's hope that it works out again. What are we doing here? Hey, just because it happened the last 4 years doesn't mean it'll happen again. Well, I'll tell you what the chances are. It feels like the chances are in the corner of it maybe happening again. We're not getting any younger. Thank you. Forgotten LOL Cow. Shout out La Murray. He's done wonderful work all year. Teams are getting younger. Every team's getting younger. And the Clippers are not. The Clippers do have the oldest player on the Clippers, PJ Tucker, has an $11.5 million player option. And the second oldest Clipper, Russell Westbrook, has a $4 million player option. I would love it if both of those guys, I don't know what you could even do to trade them. I would love it if both of those guys are not on the Clippers next year. The best way to get younger is to probably jettison the 39-year-old who is not good for the team, despite outscoring Paul George in the second half of Game 6. PJ Tucker should be moved for something. Again, the 2 oldest players on the team have expirings. Get him off the team. It's bringing Russ back. I think Lawrence Frank mentioned this. Bringing Russ back was something that Lawrence Frank kind of talked about. He said, he gave, where's the quote? Also, usually I'm not this unhinged if you're new to the chat. Lawrence Frank on Russell Westbrook. Got to give him a lot of credit. Fact that he was willing to come off the bench and make an impact. Individual defense, not team defense. There's a reason he's a fan favorite, locker room favorite. A lot of respect for what he's done. One of the game's great players. He didn't mention team defense, and he didn't mention shooting, which are 2 things why Russell Westbrook was borderline unplayable this year. He did play, and he was very bad. Yes, Rock, I'm not in the mood, and I'm about to yeet this cat out of the chat. The cat is just as pissed off as we are. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. I feel like we went through the same presser the last 3 years. I'm channeling some dime dropper right now, it feels like. I don't want to be this upset, but sometimes I think maybe this year broke me. I don't know. Maybe this was the year to fully radicalize me behind this. Lawrence talked about Zu and Terance. He said that Zu had a career year, and then he said that Harden had a lot to do with it. No shit. That's why you bring in James Harden, to make guys better. They're gonna try and figure out, the contract extensions for Zu and Terance Mann. And I will tell you what, if I were the Clippers, I would do obviously everything in my power to keep Terance Mann and Ivica Zubac on this team. They are available. They are the youngest assets. They've been grown by this team. Get whatever contract needs to be done to keep Ivica Zubac and Terance Mann, especially if we're hitching our wagon to this old-ass hitch. I don't think the wagon is old in this scenario. I think the hitch itself is old. The hitch is the California connection. It is Harden, PG, and Kawhi Leonard. The wagon is a little sketchy, but the hitch is very old. And if we're going to hitch our wagon to this, then we need to make sure that guys like Terance and Zu are locked up. We're probably going to have to overpay him, because if I were them, I could also see them wanting to leave the team, because it's been an incredibly frustrating handful of years. We got Adam Oslin who was able to come on. Let me send this link real quick. We'll send it over. Copy this. Adam Oslin's going to be on in a few. Yes. So I'm frustrated. Would you rather trade the pick for upgrades or ride the wave for 3 years? We cannot trade the draft pick. We cannot not have a first-round pick for that long. It's incredibly frustrating. This is partially why they're stuck, right? Because we can't trade that pick. This rage isn't at you, Jeremy Mormon. We cannot trade that pick. It would be horrible. Shout out Aslan. I hope this goes well. I'm sure the only thing in the way of this was the playoffs. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it was just kind of more of the same. He talked about Ty Lue. He said he thinks Ty had a terrific year. His hope is that Ty is the coach for the Clippers for a long time. One of the elite coaches in today's game. Great way of connecting. Truth teller without leaving scars and wounds. Ty Lue called him soft, and then they played better. That was nice. So that was good. Yeah, I don't know. He said we needed to get younger. He mentioned Kai Jones, but like I don't know. On the Clippers having the 46th pick, he said, I think this draft has a healthy middle class. I think there's a lot of good players. We got to find the right players. The 46th pick is not the middle class of the NBA draft. There are 60 picks. That's the lower class. All right, Adam Oslin is popping in the chat. What's going on, Adam? Oh, you got a TV on?
Sorry. I was a little background noise here, Chuck. I apologize. Didn't expect to jump in so quickly there. You're on it, my friend. Multitasking like a mofo.
I'm enraged. I'm mostly just frustrated. I don't know. How are you doing? It feels like we've seen the same presser for the last 4 years, but maybe that's just me.
Yeah. It looks like, to me, the Clippers' approach is, look, we don't have a first-round pick till 2030. So you could either rebuild without still getting a first-round pick, which doesn't make a lot of sense, or you could run it back with these guys and hope for better luck.
Which it feels like is what they're going to do. And I am going to slowly bang my head into the wall all year next year.
But I think there's some logic that's better than tanking for no picks.
Oh, they're stuck. That's what's so difficult is they're stuck. Like it both options kind of suck, I think.
Yeah, I think one is drastically better, though. I do think going for it and just hoping for better health and hoping to get lucky with good fortune is much better than a team winning 25 games while also not getting first-round picks out of winning 25 games.
No, I agree.
That's crazy.
That's insane, too. Like, I agree that would suck. But yeah, but like, I just don't. I feel like I'm in Memento and I'm going to have to tattoo things on myself. Like, it's just going to be the same thing. Terance and Zu are going to have great leverage for their contracts. Like, it just feels it just doesn't feel good right now.
No, it's frustrating. And he said it like 10 times, Lawrence Frank. They're feeling the same stuff that we are. They wish there was a different result. Kawhi wishes he could play. As frustrated as the fan base is, I'm sure they're in disbelief that this season went the exact same way. In fact, he even said he understands the skepticism of this group being able to stay healthy and the window still being open for a championship at this point. That's new in these press conferences. That's admitting a little bit that, yeah, it has been this rough. And he talked about the failure, and they only won 2 games, and it takes winning 16 to win a championship. So they weren't close to it.
No.
The one thing I was thinking about actually after the show we did, our most recent show, I think yesterday, but I've had the flu, so I'm just in this like never-ending cycle of not sleeping.
Man.
Fever dream.
Yeah. I wish Friday was a fever dream. I wish that for everybody.
The great movie The Beach, where Leonardo DiCaprio like goes out into the jungle by himself and he's like running around.
If you haven't seen The Beach, I'm happy that watch The Beach. That's
Danny Boyle. Before Slumdog Millionaire, he was doing some great stuff too. That's where I feel like the whirlwind I've been in recently, just like a madman. Because the Clipper season ends, I get the flu and I'm sick like this, and I'm staying home right now and producing a show. But anyways, I do think the one thing that brings me hope is, what if they just hit on one of these young guys or one of these smaller guys they bring in?
I hope that too. I have no evidence that
it's not that crazy. It's not impossible for that to happen. They have bones, and I heard you talking about that earlier, and that's probably the jumping off point for me to coming on this show.
because I put on my Adam hat. I said if Adam were here, he would have said, why not mention Bones as someone young who can help this team? He was an all-rookie guy.
I don't know if the attitude problems are so detrimental that he's really defeating himself at this point, because that's what it looked like after the first 2 games when he finally got back into the rotation when James Harden was out and he had that spectacular game against the Chicago Bulls. Then it looked like he was pouting. I don't understand that.
That's because PJ Tucker was his vet this year. That's probably why PJ Tucker and Bones were hanging out all that time, and PJ Tucker's yelling at the press.
Oh, maybe because it worked for PJ Tucker, considering he got to start in a must-win game. Bones thought it would work for him too if he pouted his way into minutes, because that worked for PJ Tucker, which is unbelievable to me. Talk about saying the wrong example, or the bad example. I do think if Kai or Bones or somebody else they bring in, or Jordan Miller or Musa, or if any of these guys just end up being and playing way above their heads, assuming the rest of the squad can stay relatively healthy, and age somewhat gracefully, then you have some of that juice. You need a young player that can just give these older guys, a less taxing season. That's what they need. They need a real innings eater. Like James Harden does it, but I don't know if it's that helpful because he does wear down.
Right. Is he going to play 39 minutes a game all next year? Like, his minutes load was incredible this year.
If Bones could actually go out there and give them 25 to 30 minutes, I forget where Russ ended up at, but more minutes than Russell Westbrook could. So James Harden's playing only 35 minutes a night at most. Then you're in much better shape right there. They have to supplement and support the older players with young guys that can get them through a regular season and have better health for the postseason. That's what they have to have happen.
Russ was at 22 and a half minutes per game this year.
Give me somebody that can go 27 minutes per game.
Yeah, productively.
Bones can shoot. Bones has it. He has a ton of juice, pop. He was a fan favorite when he got minutes last year. The guy swung a playoff game, and the only reason they lost it was because of bad call against the Phoenix Suns in Game 3. I don't know what it's going to take for that belief to be renewed in Bones Highland.
He didn't mention Norm in the presser.
I also was thinking about this yesterday. That's interesting.
Is there something to that? Are we also, just full disclosure, the season ended Friday, so our brains are still a little. Adam has the flu. We were celebrating Will's birthday all weekend, so little unhinged. But is there something to skim read, not fully deep dive, into Lawrence not mentioning Norm? Because his defense is very bad, but he was very good off the bench. We've had sixth men who don't play good defense before be very successful for this team and help the Clippers win a lot of games. It's not something new that the Clippers have had in a sixth man.
Well, I like Norm Powell a lot, and he had a great year last year. It should have finished top 3. I would put him in over Bobby Portis. I would have given it to Naz Reid, 6th man of the year, but I would have had Norm Powell top 3.
Sure.
But we talked about it coming into last season, that Norm Powell could be trade bait, that Norm Powell could be that one guy that you potentially move. It's not necessarily for somebody that, maybe it's someone you're taking more of a shot on or more of a risk with, but a higher ceiling type of guy, a younger player with higher ceiling by giving up Norman Powell, who does still have, and this is the problem, 2 more years left on his deal without a player option.
It's not a bad deal, though. Right?
And he's not with the salary cap going up, it's $19 million this year, $20 million the year after.
Okay. Well, not the best.
It's not nothing.
It's not the best. Never mind.
It's manageable, though, considering how he's been really consistent. He's been really good. There are teams that could see him fitting in and maybe being a missing piece or scoring punch off the bench. The Powell Rangers lineup was legit. It was their best all season long. But maybe when Lawrence Frank is talking about we need another wing, which we all kind of knew this season.
Sure. Tucker, yeah.
The holdout was giving up Batum in that move. That
Yeah.
was the guy that
We
needed to
had,
give up for James Harden.
and for those of you unfamiliar for the details of the Harden trade, the taking PJ Tucker was step one in Philly's ask for this, is we had to take PJ Tucker on. I don't know what else to add to that, but we had to.
And part of the reason I think they want to run it back is they gave up a first-round pick for James Harden. Like, you're not just going to let that guy go afterwards.
Right.
Or at least it's unlikely that I think they let him go, especially because overall he played really well and gave them their best stretch in franchise history, that 26-5 run. But I do think with Norman Powell, and as much as we talk about extensions coming for Ivica Zubac and Terance Mann, and I hope they're here forever, other teams definitely covet those guys too. I don't want to see them get moved. I'm just saying, if you're talking about pieces and plays they can make, if everything is on the table because you're trying to figure out a way to salvage this era, I think you got to make everybody available at this point. Obviously, I don't think anyone's trading for Kawhi Leonard on that extension. Paul George, they're not going to be able to do a sign and trade. If he opted in and then they could trade him, I just think that's really unrealistic. I don't think that's going to happen because I don't think he's going to play another year. Just getting that guarantee from whatever his new team is to get traded to, like James Harden did, that he's going to get the full max afterwards. I don't think that's a possibility.
Right, and you think that James Harden, if it's Philly, if this is with Philly, you think that Paul George is maybe, like, say he talks to James Harden, he's like, hey, I think I'm going to opt in and then hope Philly gives me a max contract. What do you think James Harden's going to say when he hears Paul George say that? Say, great, I hope that works for you.
The guy with the red cup gif. Okay.
Yeah, like, I hope that works for you, dude.
Yeah, I think Norman Powell is something. I think just if they could find the right trade for Norman Powell and then also find the right young guy, and maybe those two things are connected, that can give them more athleticism, which is what Lawrence Frank talked about, but somebody with just high-end potential that can support these older guys and help them during the regular season and beyond. They need somebody like that. There's no easy answers for this right now. As you mentioned earlier, it does look like they're stuck. They're doubling down. They're tripling down on this era at this point because the alternative is simply worse. You're not getting first-round picks by tanking right now. You're not getting anything till 2030. So it doesn't pay to lose. It doesn't pay to rebuild or restart or reset things. You kind of just have to hope for better luck and better fortune.
I don't know how much more hope I have in me, but you are correct. We just have to hope it works out.
Anyways, that's all I got, Chuck.
No, that's fair. I don't have a whole bunch more to say about it either. It was a frustrating presser, I guess, just from, again, we've been through this before. I thought his comments about the draft were odd. He said the 46th pick, there's a good middle ground in this class. I'm like, there's 60 picks in this draft. The 46 is not the middle of the draft. Like, what are we doing here?
We're all trying to be optimistic right now.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really have anything else to say. I should probably get back to work. My livelihood might be more important than that presser. Anything you want to end this on? This was just a quick little hang. Thanks to everyone coming in.
The other thing could be, and I've seen people bring this up, if you do bring guys back, said they get off to a hot start, they could become trade pieces down the line just because you're signing someone to a new 3-year or 4-year contract. That's the other reason you don't want to lose anyone, because they're still trade assets. You might have to add something in to sweeten the deal.
Not much to add, but yes.
I just losing Paul George for nothing.
That would be horrible.
That's, I'm sure, very unappealing to the front office, because you could still get him his money, just like we saw with Blake Griffin, and then move him down the line. I'm not saying that's what their plan is. I'm saying realistically in the NBA, who knows what happens in the next year or two if these guys do resign this summer, how much longer they're actually here. And I think that at least needs to be brought up.
Yeah. I mean, I would not be, as of May 6, 12:37 p.m. I have a feeling that ahead of the trade deadline next year is going to be very active for the Clippers. Because Lawrence Frank is next year, is last year. He doesn't have an extension yet, I don't think, right?
I don't know. I'm not familiar with the terms of his deal.
I'll have to look into that. We'll see. Again, no exit interviews because that's how this team does things. Adam, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your afternoon. Hope you feel better.
Thanks, man.
Thanks to everyone who hung out. And here's to maybe just not thinking about the Clippers for a couple days. Let's all relax a little bit.